Wednesday, February 19, 2014, and this is KBIA's Views of the News. Our weekly roundtable on media behaviors comes to you from the Futures Lab studio at the Reynolds Journalism Institute. I'm Amy Simons, and here with me are Missouri School of Journalism colleagues Mike McKean and Ernest Perry. Well, we might need to rely on late-night TV to help keep us honest. Speaking of late-night TV, a changing of the guard at NBC this week.
Welcome to The Tonight Show. This is the first Tonight Show broadcast from New York in over 40 years. Good, huh? Welcome. I'm Jimmy Fallon, and I'll be your host for now. Of course, I wouldn't be here tonight if it weren't for the previous Tonight Show hosts, so I want to say thank you to Steve Allen, Jack Parr, Johnny Carson, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, and Jay Leno. Very, very nice. Amazing. Lineage.
Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show debut Monday night was marked with more than a dozen special guests, including Robert De Niro, Lady Gaga, Sarah Jessica Parker, Joan Rivers, Bono, Will Smith. But critics said even with all the A-listers passing through, the show wasn't all that surprising. Mike, you said you had watched it the other night.
I did watch the first night, and I find Jimmy Fallon to be likable and funny without being insulting. He's certainly not, sharp, cutting-edge, caustic, whatever you want to say, like some of the other late-night hosts. So if you're NBC and you're looking for a more broad-based audience that you hope will be a little bit younger, it's probably a pretty good choice. The first show, he was very self-deprecating and all of that. So, he was setting himself up to introduce himself to some folks the old Jay Leno crowd, trying to get them to stick around. He did the bits that satisfied his younger audience on late night. U2, I don't know how relevant that is with a younger audience now, but seeing them perform on the top of, Rockefeller Center instead of in some studio was really cool. Yep. Will Smith, they did a great bit with him dancing, but the interviews with both Will Smith and with U2 were just terrible interviews. I'm not expecting Jimmy Fallon to be a great interviewer, but why even do those segments if they're going to be as boring as they were?
Well, I think at least what I'm starting to see is that whether it's Jimmy Fallon or it's the other late night talk show, David Letterman, the interview segments tend to come off as being very boring or sort of scripted. It's almost like what's coming. I think if he's going to really reach an audience, it's going to be in what he does outside of those interviews, who he brings on, and whether or not those people resonate with the crowd that he's trying to reach.
So let's talk about that interviewing for a second. Sometimes late night TV makes news. Stars looking to promote their work or engage in some kind of damage control, politicians looking to pick up a vote or two, they all make a stop on the late night couch. That requires the comedian turned host to sometimes ask the tough questions. That's something that CNN's Chris Cuomo thinks that some do better than others.
Who pushes in late night television?
Who pushes? Sometimes Letterman will. Sometimes Letterman will say things that make people uncomfortable because he just doesn't care anymore.
A little bit, but they're not really known it. Even the court jester himself, Jon Stewart, when he gets a heavy in the chair next to him, he's either making jokes or he's nodding his head, yes, yes, yes. I don't know that the bar will be that high for Jimmy Fallon to be an accountability guy.
Frankly, I think that that's a perfectly good excuse for Jimmy Fallon to break the mold. He's already been doing things, and frankly, so has Conan O'Brien, been doing things to make YouTube-friendly, social media-friendly chunks of his show, the bits, the music. And that's what they really need to focus more on, because that young audience, whether they come and watch religiously at 10:30 our time or not, they can still be encouraged to get that content online. And that's maybe not as good right now with advertisers, but at least it's better than these irrelevant interviews that nobody wants to watch.
And the thing about it is, Jon Stewart has done that, especially with his openings. And a lot of that is put online in these little chunks that people can pick up and send to their friends or throw on their Facebook page and that sort of thing. So I think if they sort of adapt a little bit of that, they're definitely going to be relevant. And the interview part that they were talking about with Jon Stewart, I think that, that is his way of sort of reaching out to maybe an older demographic, but it's those first segments that I think really going to matter in late night television.
And I guess I'll say, there's really nobody in late night TV that's appealing to the demo they're going after that's doing hard-hitting interviews. David Letterman, I don't know.
Yeah,
Charlie Rose, maybe, but this
but
is not the
Charlie Rose
audience
isn't
watching.
going for that
And he
audience.
can be as sycophantic with his guests as anybody else can be. I mean, part of the problem is going to be if you think you've got to continue to interview celebrities because that's the only way you get them on the show, then the better the celebrity is and the more out front they are, the more engaging they are, then the better the host is going to be.
And it's getting those celebrities that's really going to count. I mean, people are going to tune in and watch based on who you're going to bring to either sit on the couch or perform on the stage. And if you can't do that, then your late night program is irrelevant.
I'd like to thank you all for joining us and spending the last half hour with us. You can read more about all of the topics we talked about today. Check out the Links blog under the Talk Show tab at kbia.org. You can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @ViewsOnKBIA. These are all great ways to watch and listen to our program again, to leave comments for us, questions, whatever. See previews of what we'll be talking about next week and more. Our thanks to RJI's Travis McMillan for directing today's show, to Pat Akers for handling the audio. Josie Herrera is our associate producer. I'm Amy Simons. Be sure to join us again next week when Ernest, Mike, and I are back for another edition of Views of the News.